Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
I'm not camping outside a store for Black Friday or any Friday.
We're with Cat. That's why our Ace Black Friday sale lasts all day. Just print out our online coupon, bring it in, and save 50% on an item under $30.
Ace is the place with Black Friday offers all day. Go ahead and sleep in.
Print out our coupon at acehardware.com and stop by Ace this Friday for 50% off one regular priced item under $30. Offer valid on November 25th only at participating stores. Limit 1. Exclusions apply. See coupon.
Come on. So they had them apple bottom jean boots with
10:07 on your Tuesday morning here in New York City. Welcome back to the Bernie and Sid show right here on legendary 77 WABC. Today, of course, marking exactly 1 week. Exactly 1 week from today, America will decide two crappy candidates. Will it be Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton? 1 week, Bernard, from today.
And the polls are tightening, Sid Rosenberg.
Not really. No. Not
ABC
really.
News poll?
Who cares?
It was 2 weeks ago. It had Hillary up 11 to 12 points.
Now he's up 1.
Saturday, she was up 2. Sunday, she was up 1. Now he's up 1.
No, that's fine.
And he's actually in Michigan this morning, speaking right now.
Yeah, she's in Florida today. I know that. He's in Michigan. She's three different cities in Florida.
Michigan is a Democratic state, essentially, and he thinks he has a shot.
He has no shot.
That's where Michael Moore made the case
I understand.
for Donald Trump.
Even though he's voting for Hillary Clinton.
And at the end, he pulled the James Comey. He made the case, and at the very end said, yeah, but I'm voting for
he's not getting her states, but she's going to grab a bunch of his, starting with Texas.
I don't know. Grab him by the states. Listen.
Yes.
Stuff is changing, man.
Not really, no. But you go with that. You've got a week left. You've been on board forever.
Where's Huma been?
She ain't going to say a word. By the way, have you heard from Huma before this latest email scan? You know, it's one thing. People keep saying that. It's one thing if Huma was out there and talking all the time. She's missing.
Here's the thing.
She got fired.
She is with Hillary. She's attached at the hip to Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Ever since Saturday, she's been.
Oh yeah,
been gone.
The heat's on. So
I predicted yesterday her head rolls this week.
Yeah, listen, I thought you were crazy. You may be right, but whether she gets fired or not, Hillary's not stupid. She's not going to have her standing beside her. Listen, here's the deal with this latest email scandal.
You would think there would be a show of solidarity unless there was something coming. I don't know.
Nothing coming. We're a week away. There's nothing coming. He hasn't even really gotten a bump in the polls from this latest nonsense. This thing's going to go on for months and months and months. And listen, maybe somewhere during Hillary Clinton's presidency, she'll be removed or impeached or something. But this is not going to affect the election. Will it affect the House and Congress? Yes, I think it really will. But will it affect the election? No. Donald Trump loses a week from today. That's not going to change.
That may be the case. You may be right about that. He may lose, but it is affecting the election. And it will affect the numbers in the end. And it may be that he wins.
No. You know better.
It's definitely a possibility.
No,
and more likely now, even though if the election were held today.
Bernard. Stop with the polls. Stop with the nonsense. Stop with the email scandal. He can't get to 270. He cannot get to 270. You know that.
Stop with the nonsense.
You're being silly.
Stop with the numbers.
It's all nonsense.
Stop with the nonsense.
You know how the election works.
It's silly.
It's all about the electoral college.
Don't be silly.
And he can't get to 270.
It's nonsense.
No, it is. It is.
It's possible, though.
No, it's not. He can't get to 270.
No, Sid. It's not probable, perhaps, but it is possible.
I don't think it's possible. I don't think if you really try to add up the numbers, I know it's a week away. You've been from day one. You want to keep the dream alive. If you add up the numbers, it's not really even possible.
Here's the theory.
Okay.
A rising tide lifts all states.
Okay.
And in the national polls, he's increasing.
Okay.
So, yes, he's behind in some of the swing states. He has to run the table, essentially. He doesn't have to necessarily win Pennsylvania. I mean, he's not going to. We are really getting into the weeds.
No, but he's not going to.
But he doesn't have to.
And he's going to lose North Carolina. That's a killer.
We don't know that.
Yes, we do. He's down like 6 points today.
You know what? You may be right. You're probably right.
Right.
But it's possible that he wins. It's still possible. And I'm keeping hope alive. And this
as you should.
This latest development with Huma. Thank you, Huma. Thank you, Anthony.
Right.
is really changing the landscape.
No, it's not.
Changing some of the numbers.
If I were Huma, I would be checking my tailpipe for bananas every morning. I don't trust
In fact,
Hillary.
yes. I fear for Huma's safety, actually.
She's the next Vincent Foster?
I hope not. Don't say that. God forbid. She's a beautiful woman.
Let me ask you this.
She's been betrayed by her husband terribly, and now she's going to be scapegoated by Hillary Clinton. I mean, I feel bad.
Let me ask you this.
And I like him. She's a beautiful girl.
I know you like her. Do you think that Hillary and Bill Clinton had something to do? And don't give me maybe, possibly.
I'll give you whatever I want.
Do you think they had something to do with Vincent Foster's death?
It's possible.
Okay, then Huma's life could be in jeopardy. If you believe that's the case, then her life could be in jeopardy.
I hope not. God forbid. It's terrible. I hope she's okay. Listen, you said it yourself. They're ruthless. They're savage.
They are. But I stop at murder. I'm sorry. I stop there.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. I do too. It's probably not the case.
Right.
But anything is possible. And
gotta win.
I just hope that somebody's looking out for her. I mean, a poor thing. She's got a child. She's got the husband who ruined her career and is ruining her life essentially.
He really is.
And now her honorary mom is saying, why don't you stay home, honey? And poor thing is just left out there swinging in the breeze.
But she'll be fine if and when Hillary wins. She'll come back into the picture. It's just the next 6 or 7 days. It's like the old days, Bernard, you go to buy weed or drugs in a neighborhood, and all of a sudden, there'd be a lot of cops there. So the neighborhood was hot. They would say, that neighborhood is hot. So you'd go someplace else, or you wouldn't go for a week. That's all. The neighborhood is hot right now.
Did you hear about this?
What's that?
You're going to like this.
Okay.
It turns out that Reince Priebus actually got some questions from Fox News before the debate and forwarded them to Donald Trump. And he knew what the questions were.
Which debate would that be?
This was one of the...
1, 2, or 3?
It was actually some of the debates in the primary, and it could have been... wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. It was Donna Brazile from the DNC that got the questions and gave them to Hillary. I was wrong about that. I had it all wrong.
Come on.
No wonder you didn't hear about it. It was the Democratic National, and it was Donna, and it was Hillary who accepted the... Stupid me.
Now it makes sense why every single time Hillary embarrassed Donald Trump, despite your contention about debate number 2 up on stage.
No, this was actually poor Bernie Sanders was the victim in these cases. Well, of course, never fear. Donna Brazile, even though she was cut by CNN, she's still head of the Democratic National Committee.
We did fire, oh my God, Sid, calm down.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
You're giving it away. You're giving it away.
The Democrats. We did fire, what's her name, from Florida, who did win her election. Amazing. Debbie Schultz.
What's her name? Schultz.
Yeah.
Right. She got fired from the DNC for rigging the system against Bernie Sanders. And you know where she landed?
Who?
You know what Debbie, what's her name?
She won again in Florida.
Do you know what she's doing now?
She won her district in Florida.
She's working for the Hillary campaign.
Of course. Because she has been all along.
The sleaze is just oozing from that campaign.
And they're going to win.
Those people.
They may be sleazy, but they're going to be winners.
Well,
I mean, your guy who of course is
how about Doug Schoen?
What about him?
Remember that we had Doug Schoen on last week, the guest? He was all in for Hillary.
He was not all in, but he was leaning towards Hillary. I think he's gone to Trump now, right?
No, he was supporting Hillary.
Yeah.
He was flat out, bust out supporting Hillary.
Not anymore.
And since this, he says he can no longer, he's pulling Mitt Romney, if you will. He used to work for the Clintons.
Paul Ryan, maybe?
No, Paul Ryan is on the Trump train right now.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. He's voting for Donald Trump.
Oh, come on.
Oh yes, it's very tepid.
Yeah, very tepid.
And very calculated, but Doug Schoen.
Doug Schoen,
our guy.
That's it. Election, Trump's won.
I don't know, something's happening here.
Even
it is ain't exactly clear.
Even Joe Biden was very lukewarm talking about Hillary. Seemed very disappointed yesterday. Even Joe Biden.
And I understand there are 5 FBI probes into the Clinton Global Foundation that we heretofore did not know about.
Because I got nothing.
No, there were 5 probes.
Okay, great.
By the FBI.
They can probe and probe and probe. Don't you think it's about time if they had something 6 days before she's about to win, you'd want to tell somebody something?
You would think, but if it wasn't such a corrupt Justice Department, we might have had something.
Well, that is the other issue. That is fair. That is fair and true. Fair and true.
And, of course, the report now is that there was a real ugly fight between FBI James Comey and the Attorney General. Loretta Lynch.
Yeah.
It was nasty. But she doesn't have the juice anymore because, as I said yesterday, Bill Clinton stained her reputation.
Oh, she's got the juice.
By ambushing.
That's okay.
She's got it on her dress.
She got that, right. Monica Lewinsky juice. No, she got it.
Yeah, you got it.
Because the Clintons are loyal to Loretta Lynch. She'll keep her job when they win, and it'll all be good.
Yes, she actually bribed her beforehand, which further neutered her inadvertently. Because of the bribe.
James Comey's going to prison now for going around Loretta Lynch in the State Department and doing this nonsense.
Well, actually, and why do you say that?
Because I saw MSNBC yesterday. And they said he can go to jail. No, he's funny. I brought this up to Jimmy Kallstrom, the former assistant FBI.
Jimmy, FBI.
That's right.
They're buddies.
And he's like, well, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know, but I can tell you that he was a man no longer. He was a man of integrity. I'm not a lawyer. I can't tell you if he's going to be criminally responsible, but what he did wasn't right. That's what he said. That was Kallstrom.
Oh, it may be true.
Oh, you're unbelievable.
You're talking about, by the way, you're talking about the Hatch Act, and it's not a criminal offense. It does prevent federal officials from interfering with an election, but it's not a criminal act.
Are you sure about that? Because that was the question asked on every major network yesterday. Could he be up for a criminal charge?
We shall ask our guest at the bottom of the hour, Shannon Bream.
Love her.
From Fox News, who's a brilliant legal mind.
She actually does a lot of stuff with Chris Wallace. Fills in for Chris quite a bit, too.
Yeah, she specializes. She used to focus on the Supreme Court. And so we'll ask her about the Hatch Act and my contention that it's not a criminal act if you violate it, and other things regarding Comey and the FBI. 1-800-848.
That's what we're going to ask her? I can ask her about the Cubs and Indians?
1-800-848-9222.
How the hell the Bears beat the Vikings
last night? We're going to ask
night?
you what you saw on MSNBC yesterday. Bernie and Sid back after this.
You know, in New York, we knew Weiner. And I made statements that were rough. Like, how can she be allowed to live with this guy? How can she have access to this important information? And I was badly criticized, right? Now they're saying, Trump has good judgment. Wow. Got good instincts. I have good instincts.
Donald Trump in New York, we knew what Anthony Weiner was. Trump speaking yesterday. By the way, don't forget, coming up in a couple of minutes, Fox News anchor and author Shannon Bream will be here. And a reminder, coming up tomorrow, live in studio. They very rarely end up together anymore. Cheech and Chong, which promises to be a lot of fun here on the Bernie and Sid Show.
Yeah.
That should be great. Let's go to Michelle. She's in Princeton this morning. Michelle, welcome to the Bernie and Sid Show. Good morning.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. I just want to say that I definitely noticed a big change over the weekend. I think it's true. A lot of times, Trump supporters, they keep it to themselves. Now, over the weekend, I can't tell you how many people I came across talking about what happened and that they were voting for Trump.
They're energized. People are energized, absolutely. But there's still, I'm sure, still a silent support. So not even factoring that in, the polls are tightening. If you don't, and so you factor in the silent support, I don't know. It's starting to look good for our guy, Michelle.
Well, I don't believe the polls, and I definitely, as far as just being out in public, more and more people talking about it. My girlfriend was in a car dealership. They had the TV on Friday. She said everybody started complaining about Hillary and saying they were voting for Trump. She said she couldn't believe it.
Listen,
everybody
we are sick and tired of the Clintons and the sleaze and the scandals and all of this stuff. Everybody is just
everybody.
Clinton fatigue. Yeah. And Trump's not perfect. I know that. Believe me, I know that. Right. But, I mean, we cannot take any
so
more
then why won't Donald Trump get 100% of the vote if we're all so sick? And you say we as if you're speaking for all of us, because amazingly, she's going to kill him in New York, where Michelle was hanging out in her car dealership where all her buddies were talking about Trump. And odds are she's going to win the election. So when you say we are, as if you're speaking for everybody, you realize you're speaking in all likelihood for the minority.
You're right.
You know what, Sid? I don't necessarily believe that. I don't believe
of course
the
you
polls.
don't.
And I'm talking
Hey,
about...
Michelle, would you, if Donald Trump was up 6 points on average nationally right now, nationally, you would be believing the polls. You don't believe the polls because he's not winning.
No, I think there are a lot of polls where they show them close, but But I'm talking about being out and about and talking to people, real people, what I'm hearing and what,
Okay.
So.
Well, we'll see in a week. Thank God, a week from now, because I've taken 9 million phone calls the last 9 months. Sid, you're a moron. You're an idiot. He's going to win. My sister told me this. My brother told me that. My uncle told me this. In a state, by the way, where Donald Trump is going to get killed. That's what's funny about all these anecdotal phone calls. In this state, he's going to get killed. Yet all of you, everybody you speak to, you're all voting for Donald Trump.
Hey, Long Island is a Trump enclave. I mean,
that is true.
Yeah,
yes.
But you have, of course, Manhattan, where all these self-hating American types, these
Wall Street types,
terrorist apologists, that type of thing. We are laden with these Upper West. The Upper West Side is infested with these with these commie. I mean, it's disgusting. But there are enclaves like Long Island is definitely Trump land, Trump territory.
Nassau and Suffolk. I don't know.
Both,
I'm asking.
Both.
So many Trump costumes in the kids last night.
That's right.
See, it's funny you say that because when Flirty did see that. Now I trick or treated with my kids in Brooklyn. I didn't see any.
Well, I saw a few. I was at the Village Parade. I marched in the Village Parade. I did. I swear to God. I went as Anthony Weiner. I wore tidy whities. I wore tidy whities, and it was cold. So I found a convenient place to put my socks. So I went sockless with my platform shoes and my tidy whities.
Well, you know what sucks?
But it was beautiful.
You never put any of those pictures on Facebook for us so we could all enjoy it, Bernard.
Because I have a reputation to uphold. I can tell you about it, but and plus I lost my phone at my friend's when I woke up in my friend's house in Chelsea. I couldn't find my phone. I couldn't find it. I still don't have it.
Maybe you're sitting on it.
Well, I tell you what, I might be sitting on something because it hurts.
Right.
Hey, listen, we have a great guest from Fox News, Shannon Bream, who's a great legal mind, and we're going to talk to her about this whole James Comey stuff and the constitutional crisis that might ensue if Hillary gets elected. 1-800-848-9222. Bernie and Sid back after Noam
77
with the news.
WABC.
Yeah, and it's decision day just a week away now. 48 sunny. Here's the story she'll be talking about. 77 WABC.
This is an Election Central.
Hillary is the one who broke the law over and over and over again. We can be sure that what is in those emails is absolutely devastating. And I think we're going to find out, by the way, for the first time. Thank you, Uma. Thank you, Uma. Good job, Uma. Thank you, Anthony Weiner.
Back on 77 WABC. Even you're laughing.
It's because he's idiotic.
Even a Trump hater is laughing at Donald Trump.
It's so desperate and silly, but it is funny.
Back on the Bernie and Sid show. Listen, on the line with us right now, we have a Fox News anchor, reporter, and she actually covers the Supreme Court, a great legal mind, Shannon Bream. Good morning, Shannon.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Shannon, I got two things for you before we get to the serious stuff. And again, Shannon also, she anchors a bunch of shows, News Headquarters and America's Election Headquarters. She's a big star. First of all, Game 6 tonight, Cubs-Indians World Series. And for people that don't know this, although they should, your brother-in-law involved one of the most famous plays in the history of the World Series.
He was, Sid Bream, not known as a speed demon.
Right.
But he rounded third and made it into home for the NLCS championship to win it for the Braves years ago.
Yep.
And it's a famous moment.
Famous moment, Sid Bream, Braves against the Pirates. I'll never forget that. So that's kind of cool if you get to watch a game with your brother-in-law. And second of all, you were born, because I also lived in South Florida for many years, you were born in the city. One of the most famous, I guess, murders in the country's history went down in the place you were born.
Yeah, we don't like to think of it that way, but I was born in
Really?
Sanford, Florida, just outside of Orlando. It's been in the news a lot the last few years, but it's a beautiful place.
It is a nice place, but that, of course, is the place where the whole George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin thing went down. And I know driving up when I moved to New York back in June from Florida, and I drove past Sanford. And when I drive past that sign, Shannon, the first thing I think of is Trayvon Martin.
I know. I mean, it really is. It's what put that little town on the map. It's a growing city, but unfortunately, I think for a lot of people, that's their word association for it.
Shannon, so let's get to the politics right now. Florida native, Sid was a refugee from New York down in Florida. He's back in New York now, and we're glad to have him. We're glad to have you, Shannon.
I was guessing he wasn't born in Florida.
No, you can tell, huh? You can tell. But I did spend 15 years in Boca Raton, which is basically, Shannon, Long Island on steroids.
Exactly.
Basically.
Long Island South.
Right, exactly.
So, Shannon, James Comey, FBI director, he upset the whole election. He upset a lot of people as well. He reopened the investigation into Hillary Clinton's email use, and it was all due to the investigation into Anthony Weiner's sleazy, sordid activities. Now, here's the question. Hillary Clinton keeps saying, listen, release the stuff. But by law, she should know that you can't release information into an ongoing investigation while the investigation is ongoing. Am I wrong about that?
Oh, yeah. She and her team know that. But what else can she do at this point? It's so close to the election, and that sounds like the best probably way to tackle it, to say, I want to be transparent, let's put everything out there. But there's just no way. I mean, if you're going through 650,000 emails allegedly, and they're using search term and a special software program the FBI has put together, but even still, every email that you find that flags any kind of concern has to go through multiple agencies for decisions about classification. There's just no way it's
never going to happen.
No, and that's why it's not going to happen before the election next Tuesday.
So she's being disingenuous when she calls for it.
Right. But like Shannon said, what else is she supposed to do? But another legal thing here, yesterday we kept seeing that possibly Jim Comey violated the Hatch Act and maybe he did something illegal. That's not the case, but explain why.
Because most people think that that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it essentially has to do with public officials out campaigning or doing things that are related to an election. And the first response I saw, because Harry Reid, Senate Minority Leader, of course, is the one who first floated this idea, as far as I've seen. But then I immediately got a deluge of people who said, what about all the things that Harry Reid has done when he stood on the Senate floor, where there is some legal protection for certain statements that you make, but talked about word on the street is that Mitt Romney hasn't paid taxes when we know there was zero truth to that. There were no facts behind that. Public officials who are making decisions in line with their job duties, it would be a huge stretch for anyone to ever be able to legally argue that in some way Comey was campaigning or benefiting a specific employee or candidate by doing his job.
So Shannon Bream from Fox News on the Bernie and Sid show. Reuters and other people are reporting that there was some ugliness. There was an argument between James Comey, the FBI director, and Attorney General Loretta Lynch over whether or not he should go public with this investigation. And he actually said to them, according to some reports, he said to her, "Are you ordering me to not to do this?" And she said, "No, I'm not." Could she have ordered him not to do it? And if so, I mean, what could she have ordered him to?
Well, that's a big debate here, too, because people will argue about whether he works for her, whether he reports directly to the president, whether the FBI is, subservient to the DOJ and the Attorney General has the final say on things. I mean, there are people here in Washington who are split on that topic, absolutely, and, would argue that he has a lot of autonomy and could answer directly to the president. Skipping her in the process, we know he's made every effort, though, along the way to follow what most people see as the protocol and go through the Attorney General with these decisions. She obviously, after the word of the tarmac meeting between her and former President Bill Clinton leaked out, she then said she would defer to his judgment on the initial decision about whether or not to indict. But there are a lot of folks here in Washington who argue about whether he would ever really have to consult with her, or whether he may be risking his job to leapfrog her.
She was sort of neutered by that. Bill Clinton discredited. He hurt her, Bill Clinton did, by ambushing her on the tarmac. Now she is sort of, her reputation is in shambles because of Bill Clinton. And so she lost some authority, I would posit, after that, which is why Comey figured he could do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, there are all kinds of, reports that she was incredibly uncomfortable when he approached the plane and came on board. And that it was something that she would never have initiated, but that it was something that he was sort of gregarious, and he's there, and you know how he is. He's very charming.
Sure.
And he, how do you stop and say, excuse me, Mr. Former President, don't come on the plane? I mean, she could have, I would imagine that would have been.
Right, it's not going to happen.
And he gave her her start.
I'm sure he did. He did, actually, and I'm sure he's going to give her her finish. Shannon Bream, Fox News anchor, here with Bernie and Sid. Talking about reputation in shambles, and Donald Trump supporters don't want to hear this today because today he's their hero. So is Jim Comey. That's the bottom line here, Shannon. And there are a lot of people on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, who really want to know what was his motivation here? He came out a couple of months ago. He had nothing. Now he comes out a couple of days before the election, knowing full well he's not going to release anything or tell us anything before the election. I know you're not in his head, but what do you think was Jim Comey's motivation here?
Well, we've heard a lot about that he felt extreme pressure and backlash because we've been hearing from FBI agents off the record for months before he ever stepped out in July and said, were not going to indict her. A number of them who said, I will quit, I will go public if he does this. And apparently, the reports are that he had mounting a growing list, a pile of resignation letters on his desk, and was really trying to struggle with how morale had been absolutely decimated by his decision, by people who within the agency didn't think it was the right decision. Apparently there was possibly some pressure from his wife as well. And at the end of the day, you have to think, if some of this stuff was going to break right after the election, how much worse for him that would look if Hillary Clinton was elected, and then 5 days later he says, and we just found a cache of new emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop that may or may not be involved with her. I think that it was a calculation you have to make, and he must have decided in his mind, it is better for me to be upfront about this now that we have some concerns, rather than to let the election happen and then drop it.
That's fair, but does that mean, because obviously the Trump supporter goes to the next level, if he did this a week before the election, he must have stuff, Shannon Bream, that's going to stop the world from turning. And what I'm saying is, not necessarily. He's got a load of stuff, needs to be looked into, but to go to that stretch that he must have something really awful, I think is a little premature.
I agree with you. I think it's a stretch because at this point there's so much searching to do. All they know is they've had hits for emails that may end in state.gov, things that they have to look at and see whether they were classified, whether they were truly, problematic. They don't know yet, but I think in an abundance of caution, he felt like, I have to put this out now rather than looking like I saved it until after the election.
Shannon Bream from Fox News on the Bernie and Sid Show. Listen, a lot of talk about if Hillary is elected, she's under investigation. If she's elected, we could face a constitutional crisis. Do you think at this point she should pledge not to pardon herself, or maybe Obama should pledge that he won't pardon her before the election? Or is this fear of a constitutional crisis valid?
I do think it is a question that you have to look into, because I interviewed the House Judiciary Committee Chair, Bob Goodlatte, a couple of days ago and asked him about this. What happens if she's sworn in with all of these pending investigations with congressional committees, with the FBI, with whatever agency we don't know about? I said, are you actually going to subpoena a sitting president to come testify on Capitol Hill under oath? And he said, yes, we don't intend to abandon these regardless of who is elected. We started these investigations and we want to get answers. So it would create a very unusual and for many people uncomfortable situation, but it's very realistic to consider that these things aren't going away whether she's elected or not, and you have to look ahead. We sort of joked last week that it was actually a good week for Tim Kaine, because if she wins,
right, he's the president.
He's going to stay prepared and be ready to step in if he needs to.
Well, let's talk about the election. Shannon Bream, not just a great legal mind, but the host of Election Headquarters. You follow this thing very, very closely. Did Donald Trump get what he needed on Friday to put him over the top? I don't think so. I still think she wins. I think it's a little closer, but I think she wins comfortably. What do you think happens next Tuesday?
I think when you look at the Electoral College, it's still a very tough uphill battle for Trump to win. It's not impossible, and it's probably gotten a little bit more impossible the last few days. But when you look state by state and getting to that magic number of 270,
he ain't getting there.
It's really difficult.
Yeah, he ain't getting there.
It's really it's tough, because not only does he have to take every state that is solidly GOP, leaning GOP, he's got to get every single toss-up, and he has to pick off one of the major leaning Democrat states.
Well, you have, Shannon, the Obamacare shock. It's a devastating middle-class families. You have this stunning reopening of the email investigation.
That's over.
And you also have the Clinton Global Foundation. The WikiLeaks stuff came out. Now, it's being reported that there are 5 separate FBI probes into the Clinton Global Foundation. Do you know anything about that?
Well, you remember when Comey was on Capitol Hill, he was asked directly by one of the members about that, whether he would say that there is a Clinton Foundation investigation, and he sort of didn't confirm, didn't deny. I mean, he wouldn't answer the question, probably wisely so, not wanting to tip their hat if they are indeed investigating. But now what we're hearing is that there are actual probes of some kind. I mean, we can't, say with certainty how far down the line they are, if they're initial inquiries, if there's anything criminal to it, but we know that they are looking into something.
Yeah, but Sean, here's the thing, and Bernard knows this, okay? He's not winning on this stuff. The only way Donald Trump would have or can win the election is when he sticks to the issues, because believe it or not, when he talks about immigration, his numbers go up. When he talks about healthcare, his numbers go up. Him sitting around waiting for some FBI probe to happen, for another email to drop, it has been proven over the last year that doesn't help him. So instead of concentrating this last week on what works for him, he's doing what Bernie is talking about, which is an easy way to lose.
Well, you think about that, because we have for months, I mean, for more than a year, the polling on Hillary Clinton has been that people, including this across the board, this isn't just Republicans, I mean, across the board, people see her as untrustworthy and dishonest. That is across the board, and yet they continue to vote for her and choose her.
Right.
So the people who support her, somehow in their minds, they've made peace with that.
We don't care.
I don't think that it's not our issue. We think we're still getting on that train because we think it's something that we can live with. We've calculated it in to our decision, and she continues to poll ahead and stay ahead, in the primaries, and now, for most part in the general election. So to me, that's already baked into the cake. These things about dishonesty or not telling the whole truth. So I don't know that new revelations about that specific angle for her are really going to matter.
Well, Trump can multitask. He can focus on the corruption and the open borders and the Obamacare implosion,
Right.
so he may as well do so, and he does. Hey, listen, Shannon Bream, we are out of time.
Excellent job.
Great
Fantastic.
to chat with you, gentlemen.
A
Come back to Florida. I'll see you there on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Thank you. Shannon Bream from Fox News on the Bernie and Sid Show. Back after this.
77 WABC. Traffic and Transit.
In Melville, that overturned truck on the...
You see, Donna Brazile was fired from the network for giving crooked Hillary the answers and the questions to a debate. I have a son named Barron, and I want to tell you, she is a terrible example for my son and for the children in this country. Getting the questions to the debate, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And not turning yourself in. And if they fired Donna Brazile, why aren't they firing Hillary Clinton? Why is she allowed to run?
By the way, after his performances in all those debates, he probably should have done the same thing. That was Donald Trump, once again bashing Hillary Clinton, which he's gotten very good at. Hour number 2 of the Bernie and Sid Show here on legendary 77 WABC. And much like we ended last hour with a great guest, Shannon Bream from Fox, we go back to Fox with a very esteemed guest to start hour number 2, and a man who wrote a book that I can attest to. Bernard reads every day.
Hey, James Rosen is our guest, Fox News reporter and author. And yes, the book, I've been reading it, James. It's called A Torch Kept Lit, Great Lives of the 20th Century. It's a compilation of eulogies that the brilliant William F. Buckley wrote over the years. Whittaker Chambers, Alger Hiss, Johnny Carson, Richard Nixon, Elvis Presley, et cetera, et cetera. James Rosen, welcome to the Bernie and Sid Show.
You're very kind to have me. Thank you.
No, it's a brilliant book, and I mean, you write a lot of the introductions to the eulogies, and you are just about there with William F. Buckley in the intelligence department, I would say.
That's very kind. I do a good impersonation. Let's go straight to it, right?
Let's do it.
So when anyone would say back in the Cold War, when Bill Buckley was at the height of his influence, they would engage in moral equivalence. They would say, well, the KGB and the CIA, they're basically the same guys. They just wear different colored trench coats. Buckley would say, men who push old ladies into the way of an onrushing bus, and men who push old ladies out of the way of an onrushing bus, it seems to me, ought not to be grouped together as men who go around pushing old ladies around.
That is spot on, man.
Nailed it. I would say this, and I don't know this for a fact, James, but I'm going to go on a limb. You're the only person who ever lived in Staten Island that does that impression. What do you think about that?
This is mathematically a safe assumption.
And that's the thing. You're Brooklyn-born, Staten Island guy. You went to New York City public schools.
And as a result of all that,
yes,
I can do the accent, the other accent, if you need to hear. How about I take off the belt? I'll show you both beatings. Right in front of all your fancy friends. Say it again.
He could do Frankie Russo, this guy over here. Hey, what are you talking about?
See, but what happened was he did what they sent with the Northwestern, right? So he goes to Chicago, and that's when the Brooklyn, the Staten Island, Jimmy Rosen became James Rosen.
Yeah, leached right out of me.
Call me James, please. Mr. Rosen, if you will.
Right.
Well, listen, James, it's a pleasure to have you in honor. Again, the book is A Torch Kept Lit, a compilation of eulogies by William F. Buckley. It's a great read. Trust me, folks. Now, let's get straight to the campaign and the race, James Rosen.
Yes.
The earth-shattering events last Friday. Nobody expected it. James Comey under fire from both sides. Actually, from one side now. He was on the other side before. What do you make of that revelation on Friday? Do you think, A, he should have made it, and B, will it affect the race?
Well, I think that James Comey has kind of overthought this thing throughout. He chose back in July essentially to impeach Hillary Clinton publicly rather than indict her, and to tell us that on the basis of facts that it took him 13 minutes to recite, no prosecutor would ever have brought that case forward. I dare say if we had 100 prosecutors, career prosecutors of varying political stripes and caliber, lock them into one of those racquetball courts where it's all white walls, I think at least one of the 100 would have brought forward that case.
If not 90, to be honest.
At least to a grand jury.
Right.
And so he chose an untenable middle course, which was to impeach Mrs. Clinton rather than indict her, which was, I think, beyond his brief in the first place. He either should have just issued a one-sentence statement saying we decline to go forward, the basis for a prosecution isn't there, and then gone and testified to Congress and so forth. Given where he put himself, for him now, I think this probably was the right choice in the sense that if he had withheld this information until after the election, he would have been pilloried for doing that. What's clear to me, though, as someone who also wrote a book about the Watergate case.
Yes, John Mitchell, as a matter of fact, you wrote it
right.
under the auspices of William F. Buckley.
Well, with a little help from my friend William F. Buckley
Yes.
Jr. I've seen how prosecutions get built. I've seen how witnesses get flipped, and I've seen how stories change, and I've seen how special prosecutors operate. Since July the 5th, when Comey made his initial announcement, so much information about the FBI's investigation into the Clinton server has been disgorged into public view, raw investigative files, interrogation summaries, and so forth, that it strikes me as very hard, even if you had a determinedly anti-Hillary prosecutor or a special prosecutor appointed, how they would go about securing indictments in this case. What would happen to all the immunity deals? What would a good defense lawyer make of Mr. Comey's statement on the 5th of July that no reasonable prosecutor would bring this case forward? How can witnesses, new ones or return witnesses, be interrogated effectively when they can benefit from all the interrogation summaries that have been put into public view already and tailor their testimony accordingly? So this is really, as a potential prosecution, I would say it's almost hopelessly compromised.
So in the end, we just had this conversation moments ago with our prior guest, James, and she said there were piles of letters on his desk talking about resignations, and that Comey just kind of folded under that pressure because for the life of me, I can't figure out why this guy, and just to disagree with Bernie for a second, both sides are still angry with Jim Comey, both sides. I've heard Republicans and Democrats very, very critical of Jim Comey. Why would he do this to himself?
Well, again, I think that in the first instance he might have overthought this. I think that Jim Comey recoiled from an unpleasant fact, which was that the American system is kind of like a pachinko machine, and sometimes it spits out the ball in a weird way. And in this instance, in June, it was going to spit it out in such a way that the FBI director, by virtue of the effective recusal of the Attorney General, was going to decide whether or not Hillary Clinton got to stay as the Democratic nominee, in essence. And who knows where the race might be if Joe Biden were the nominee right now. But I think that Comey did not want to be seen, or did not want his institution, the FBI, to be seen meddling in electoral politics at the highest level. And so he chose, as I say, what I call this untenable middle course, which was to impeach Hillary Clinton, but not indict her. I don't think, for example, that Antonin Scalia and his colleagues on the Supreme Court shrank from that reality when the pachinko machine spit out the ball in such a way that the Supreme Court of the United States was going to decide Florida and therefore the winner of the 2000 election. That's just the way it happened, and they did their duty accordingly.
Let me answer Bernard's second part of his question, which was affecting the election. By the way, so far, numbers-wise, statistically, it really hasn't. He's gotten a point here and a point there, but for the most part, it's been a lot about nothing. And let me say this, I am voting for Hillary, so let me speak on behalf of the Hillary voters. We don't care, James. We don't want to hear about emails anymore. We don't care. I don't know any Hillary supporter that, based on these new revelations, not going to vote for Hillary.
About the undecideds.
And I find it very hard to believe there are a ton of undecideds 7 days before. So, in my estimation, which I think is reasonable, James, this can't help Donald Trump a lot. And by the way, it has been proven through this election, when it's not about the issues, and he tries to prove her to be a liar again, it doesn't help him.
Well, I think that to answer your exact point about being a Hillary Clinton supporter and being disinterested in this news, no one expects that the hardcore Hillary Clinton supporter or the determined Hillary Clinton voter is going to be terribly swayed by this. The question is whether there are some marginal people within the Hillary orbit who might, as a result of this kind of news, be depressed into not voting.
James, you've seen this election. Do you think, honestly, with the way both of these candidates are so disliked, that there's anybody who's marginal about either one of these two?
Yes, I do. I think there's people who are marginal about the enterprise of getting out of their house and going and voting, and who might have been swayed by this to stay home after all. who would have had that one last fiber of interest in Hillary Clinton, perhaps broken by this development. I think there are such people. In terms of persuadables, or in terms of, again, it's not persuading one against the other. It's persuading you to go out and actually vote. Those are two different concepts.
And when it's almost critical mass, you have a confluence of things happening: the Obamacare implosion, the WikiLeaks revelations into the Clinton Global Foundation, where you have some jaw-dropping sleaze and corruption being exposed, and you throw this into the mix, and it will influence certain people. I posit, James Rosen.
I would say, though, that there's been a lot about this election cycle that's been actually quite salutary for the American electorate and for our polity, to use a $5 political science word, that Buckley would have been proud of. Yes. I think, first of all, we've seen tremendous engagement. Huge record numbers of people watched the primary debates. Huge record numbers of people watched the 3 presidential debates. We've seen 14 million people cast votes for Donald Trump. That's more than any Republican nominee in history. Not all 14 million of those people can possibly be members of KKK.
Right.
And so this kind of engagement, and frankly, what did Donald Trump mean? Not that we should speak of him in the past tense, because he's ahead in several states, and who knows how this crazy election is going to turn out. But the left has all along been eager to portray Donald Trump as an expression of wild racist sentiment, or the alt-right. I would say that Donald Trump chiefly represents a rebuke to the political classes, a signal from the electorate that after so many decades of disaffection with the political classes, meaning both parties really, and Bernie Sanders speaks to this as well, we're going to go outside the ranks of the political classes to hire for the top job, whereas ordinarily we never do that. But that's how fed up we are. And so they chose Donald Trump, and who felt the sting? John Kasich, Jeb Bush,
Marco Rubio,
Ted Cruz. Yep. So a fascinating cycle, and not altogether unhealthy in a lot of respects.
To put it in prosaic terms, as Michael Moore did, a big middle finger to the establishment elites that have not been helping.
It's a family show here.
That's Michael Moore said. Pardon me. Excuse the vulgarity.
But if in fact this doesn't change the election, okay, and she wins next Tuesday. Let's talk about what this could mean, this latest revelation, to the House, to Congress, because that's what you keep hearing from the Hillary supporters. Well, she's still going to win, but we admit we're a bit nervous what may happen in the states with these other elections.
The FBI has made, as a down ballot factor,
right.
Sure.
Right.
It looks likely that the Republicans will keep control of at least one chamber in the Congress. And if, as we understand from the FBI, this investigation of these newly discovered emails and devices stretches beyond the election, and the Republicans control, let's say, one chamber, and in this hypothetical scenario, Hillary Clinton is sworn in as the next president of the United States, with the prima facie, that's a Latin term, and
nice.
We loved Latin terms, which means on its face the inherent conflict of interest between the FBI and the Department of Justice investigating the sitting president of the United States and her closest aides. You could see the Republican majority in that one chamber have the ability to create the political pressure necessary for the appointment of a special prosecutor. But as we discussed earlier, again, so much of this investigation has been disgorged into public view. So many immunity deals have been cut. So many statements have been made publicly by the FBI director that even a determinedly anti-Hillary special prosecutor could face serious obstacles in securing indictments in this kind of setting.
Let me ask you this, Jay. The bigger picture, this whole election here, since the primaries, I mean, have you ever seen this media bias so conspicuous, essentially an arm of the Clinton campaign, and then you throw in CNN giving the questions to Donna Brazile. They just cut her loose and announced it 2 weeks later, by the way. But have you ever seen it so bad, this egregious?
You know, I have a lot of friends who are reporters, and I travel in beltway circles, which means I'm bloated and self-aggrandizing, and I plead guilty to all of those things. But my observation from knowing a lot of these people, from having them as friends and so forth, is that in a lot of the cases, I can't speak to gross percentages, but in a lot of cases, these people regard Donald Trump as such a singularly toxic figure on the American political landscape, of the likes not seen since Joseph McCarthy. That to maintain a determined posture of neutrality towards him in covering him would in itself be, for these people, a kind of capitulation to evil, and therefore they cannot remain neutral toward Donald Trump. Now, I haven't liked everything I've heard out of Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, for that matter, but I do regard it as a kind of a sacred principle of what I'm doing for a living, that I have to maintain a neutrality between them. And I can't just write off one or the other as hopelessly unfit for the office, and therefore it's within my purview as a reporter to sort of slant the coverage. But
we didn't include you in that. In fact, we made a list in the back, James, that we will show to the audience one day. And one side had the guys that are abundantly on one side, Lester Holt, Anderson Cooper, and then we had the guys that we thought were very, very fair. And your name was at the very top of the list of the fair.
This is like in Billy Madison, when Billy Madison calls the guy that he tormented in high school.
That's right.
Crosses him off the list of people to kill.
That's right. Exactly right.
Bottom line, James Rosen, I take that answer to be one big no. You've never seen it so bad.
Well, here's a bigger question, though. And you guys are right, because I'm voting for Hillary, but I do think there's a media bias that even we can recognize. The bigger question is, to Bernard's question, is it going to change? Is it because Donald Trump... And listen, at one point I actually endorsed Donald Trump very tepidly, but I got so sick of him that I just can't vote for the guy. But is that going to change with a new nominee, or is it just the way it is that the media is in the bag for the left?
Well, I think studies going back to the McGovern era have shown that large percentages, large majorities of the working political press corps self-identify as liberals. So the question is whether one is going to be disciplined in the plying of one's trade about correcting for that, or whether one is going to let it seep in. But yes, I have been dismayed and I love the New York Times as an institution. I'm a native New Yorker. But I have been dismayed to sort of click onto its homepage every day, and the same could be said for the Washington Post, which is a paper I've written many, many times for. I do book reviews for them. To see on their homepages just a kind of a drumbeat every day has 3 to 4 to 5 anti-Trump headlines. And look, the guy does a lot of damage to himself. He has seemed at different points in this campaign to almost as though he wakes up determinedly trying to figure out how he can set back his own cause, because he has frittered away polling advantages at various junctures throughout this cycle. But I'll tell you what, it was a hell of a ride this cycle, wasn't it?
It's been fantastic, man. It's been good for business.
The final 48 hours are going to bring.
Oh, yeah. Look, put your seatbelts on is all I can say. Listen, Brooklyn-born, Staten Island boy, now turned very cerebral journalist and author, James Rosen.
Jimmy Rosen to me, thank you.
Jimmy Rose, right overhead.
The book is called The Torch Kept Lit. It's a compilation of eulogies by William F. Buckley, edited by Jimmy Rosen over here. Hey,
New York Times bestseller in its 7th printing. If you want to check out some of the eulogies or order any of the formats, go to atorchkeptlit.com.
It really is a fun read. Great. I've been reading it. Thank you, James.
Just
Rosen.
make sure you write mine one day, okay? Can I get that deal right
now? We'll arrange this.
Back on Bernie and said thank you, James. After this.
77 WABC. WABC.
The FBI is revisiting its investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails because some of them were found on Anthony Weiner's laptop. It's a real mess. Not because there's so many emails, just because they can't find anyone willing to touch Anthony Weiner's laptop.
Well, that's funny. Jimmy Fallon, courtesy of NBC, back on the Bernie and Sid show for about 20 more minutes. After that, Kubi and Lionel come your way. Curtis is still out. Big night for me tonight, not because it's Game 6, Cubs and Indians, not because I'm looking for my Knickerbockers to win their 2nd in a row on the road in Detroit against the Pistons, and not because the Rangers host the Blues downstairs tonight. None of that. It's because it's Tuesday night and my boy, my partner, my dear friend, my brother.
Now easy.
Bernard McGurk.
That's very nice.
Will once again steal the Bill O'Reilly show.
Stop.
You steal it every time.
Stop.
Every time.
Stop. I'm
every
begging
time.
You're a thief.
I'm begging you.
Poor Greg Gutfeld. He gets. It's embarrassing.
It's a minor little drive-by, and
no, it's
I'm
not.
honored to do it. But
it's a big deal, bro.
You pump it up like take it easy. But that's all good.
It's the #1 show on network. You're on, and let me just say this: you were great on Jesse Waters' show a couple of weeks ago. So good, because I know you're too embarrassed to say it, but you were, that you're going back again this Saturday on Waters World.
That is true. That is true.
You're a
but,
star.
Look, it's just
You're going to be on Fox soon.
It's an appearance. It's just an appearance.
He was so good 3 weeks ago.
Thing.
He was so good 3 weeks ago and outnumbered. Get about Bill O'Reilly and Waters World. They've invited him back on outnumbered.
Hey, Judy from Brooklyn. You're on Bernie and Sid on WABC. Good morning, Judy. Come on, Judy.
There's Judy. Hi, Judy. Hi.
Help me out, Judy. Help me out. Thank you.
Good morning, guys. It's a beautiful morning, by the way.
Yes.
Listen, I am very, very curious. I wonder if you know this answer or could find this answer out. I heard that there are like 20 million early voters, that some of them have like voter regret.
20 to 30. 10% of the electorate has already voted. You're right about that.
And I heard, I don't remember where, I listen to a lot of things and I read a lot, but I heard somewhere pretty credible, but I wonder if someone can confirm this, that if you go out on the day off, like November 8th, and vote second time around, then that rules out your previous vote.
No, I hate to disabuse you and our listeners in the tri-state area in New York and Connecticut. The deadline to do that is today. If you want to change your vote November 1st, today is the deadline.
Okay, so everyone get out there. Go.
So all you people who voted for Hillary before you found out that she's going to be indicted, go back to the polling place today and change your vote for Trump. Or Jill Stein. I don't care.
I want to tell you know what, Sid?
Yo.
Hello, Sid? Are you there?
I'm here.
Sid, listen.
Yeah.
I think because you hate Trump and you hate what's-her-name Hillary, why don't you just stay home and don't vote? How's that?
Okay, I could do, in all seriousness, Judy, just we've had a nice little back and forth, which I've enjoyed over the months. It doesn't matter. He's going to get slaughtered in New York anyway. And don't argue that, please. He's going to get killed here, so it doesn't matter.
Did you register?
Yeah. I changed it from Florida to New York. But it doesn't matter because my vote doesn't count here. It really doesn't.
You know what? First of all, honestly, guys, I don't understand all this electoral stuff and whatever. Makes no sense. I mean, there's something wrong there. I've heard about this before.
Well, we both agree with you there, Judy. It's unfair to Trump. I mean, here I am defending Trump.
Right.
It is unfair to him and really does, for a second, I hate to temper the enthusiasm, it makes it very difficult with the math for him to get to 270 because it is stacked against him.
Yeah, well, I don't know. But you know something, Bernie, remember I was telling you never know, things can change last week? Let me tell you, with a little bit of luck and timing, you still never know.
Of course.
Maybe, sure.
Again, we see the momentum swinging Trump's way, and
not enough though
in the national polls and the state polls, the swing states, they lag behind.
Right, that's
so
true.
It could. So keep hope alive.
Right, that's all. Right.
Judy Carmine from Brooklyn, and thank you for the call, Judy. Carmine from Brooklyn, you're on with Bernie and Sid on WABC. Good morning, Carmine.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Hey, Carmine, what's up, brother?
You know what I think? I think Sid. You have a similar personality like Trump.
How's that?
Maybe that's why you don't like him so much, because there's a lot of negativity there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, hold on one second. Would you load the truck? I'm sorry, guys. The one guy I hired that's a Hillary fan, he doesn't work.
He's taking a break.
Silly guy. Look at this guy. Unbelievable.
That's funny, Carmine. That's funny.
That figures.
That's funny.
It's unbelievable.
You know what's funny, Carmine?
94 million people out of work. I got to get this guy who wants Hillary. You believe it?
What's funny, what you just said to me, Carmine, is I swear to you, I get that all the time. They go, hold on a second, Sid. You don't like Donald Trump. You're arrogant, you're brash, you're confident, you're funny, you're all these things. You're almost exactly like him. What don't you like about him? Of course, I'm not rich.
Yeah, but you say he's a know-nothing, big mouth, self-obsessed oaf.
That's me.
Wait a second.
One thing I got to say, though.
You're not an oaf.
Trump, I don't know how they prove that he's a racist, because I think everybody in their mind, if you went into everybody's mind, you'd figure out who they don't like, but we can't do that.
Ask the Hindus how much of a racist.
The Hindus love him. Yeah, they do love him.
One thing I got to say is if he got into office, I really believe we get our industry, meaning mine, the construction industry, back on track. We're doing jobs on federal and state monies right now where we have no private money coming in because people are disgusted with what's going on. We could get this thing going again. There'd be work for everybody.
Damn right.
All right. Well,
gonna drain the swamp, Carmine.
I hope you guys do well either way, to be honest.
You get that freeloader back on the truck. Get him to work. Sergeant Dan from Brooklyn. You're on with Bernie and Sid on WABC. Good morning, Sergeant Dan.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Hey,
I think what people are missing, and they're getting off the ball a little bit, is that I think this Weiner, NYPD Sex Crimes was investigating Weiner's computer. This is where this all started. And then it got bounced up to the real FBI, which is the Southern District. of New York. Anybody in law enforcement knows that Southern District, that's the real deal. I think they have devastating evidence on that computer.
Right, I agree with you. I think
in a way, I think it's going to fall real quick, and I'll hang up and get your comments. I think Weiner is going to get collared. I think is going to be forced to resign or step down. And I'm hoping that not so much that people are going to switch their vote, but I think enough people are going to get discouraged that they're just not going to vote for Hillary.
Oh.
And I think that might be enough. And then whatever happens after the election, even if she gets elected president, I don't think you can't hide this computer. This is going to be a huge problem, and I'm talking about with the sex.
Yeah, but you know what's funny, Dan? A lot of the people, including me, voting for Hillary. Let's say she's going to win the presidency. She wins it, and a couple months down the road, she's got to exit the office. We're still going to be happy because Donald didn't get in. You see, the beauty about this election is, or maybe it's the curse, is so many people voting for both candidates. It's not about they like that candidate. It's that they despise the other. So if you told the Hillary supporter right now, listen, 6 months, she's out. They'll be like, okay, but he's not in. And that'll make him just as happy as her winning.
Let me just say this. I like Donald Trump. I mean, he's not perfect.
No, I know you like him.
There's a bunch of things he said that
but I'm not sure you're part of the majority.
But I do like him.
I know you like him. But you know what it's like? Let me give you a sports analogy. A Met fan wants the Mets to win. You know this, Bernard. But a Met fan is almost as happy if the Yankees lose.
No, I get your point. Sure.
So we don't care if she's in office for 6 months and she's got to go as long as Donald doesn't get in.
You don't care what happens to the country, the constitutional
crisis. No, we don't care about that.
We don't care about the open borders, the immigrants, and the fact that Obamacare is a disaster.
No.
We just hate Trump.
Right.
So if he loses,
because he's got no answers. None.
Right.
None.
Exactly
You've got answers when you speak for him.
I get your point.
Yes.
I get your point. Kevin from New Jersey, around with Bernie and Sid on WABC. Good morning, Kevin.
Hey, good morning. It's great speaking to you guys again. I spoke to you guys a few times. Always a pleasure listening to you. I think Sid be right on a lot of things. A lot of people don't give him credit. I won't go far and say I hate Donald Trump and all that. As a black person, I definitely think I'm going to vote, for Trump. Trump is he's pretty good. I'm definitely not voting for Hillary.
Right.
But my question, what you were saying, Bernie?
I thought you said you were going to vote for Trump.
No, I'm for Hillary.
Oh, no, I'm saying I will vote for Trump before I vote for Hillary.
Oh, you will? Okay, there you go.
Okay.
There's no way I'll vote for her. But my question, I wanted to ask Bernie was, do you believe that the WikiLeaks email is like hacked from Russia, or do you believe them?
Do I believe it was hacked from the Russians? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
All right, now this one email that I know nobody talked about, it was one where John Podesta sending correspondence to Edgar Mitchell, the one who went to Apollo 14.
You're kidding me? The collusion?
I want to know, is that what's the status on that? Is that true? Far as with some email John Podesta?
Absolutely. Podesta and Palmieri, Jennifer Palmieri, the two Catholic haters. They were complicit in this Donna Brazil feeding questions to Hillary Clinton. I mean, these people were stone cold busted by the Russian WikiLeaks deal. Yes, was it with the Russians? Should the Russians be interfering in our election? Should they be hacking our emails? No. But the fact is, it's out there. Look, how did Donald Trump's tax returns get to the New York Times? Somebody stole them. Right. Nobody said, "Oh my God, they were stolen." The fact of the matter is, it's out there and it counts. And they were stone cold busted. They're a bunch of sleazebags. A bunch of crooked cheaters is what they are. Liars, cheaters, and bigots is what they've been exposed
What about Trump and the Russians?
So good for the Russians.
But what about Trump? Oh, that's fine then. Good for the Russians.
Hey, listen, Hillary Clinton was the one who signed off on sending the Russians 20% of the world's supply of uranium, which they may be supplying to the Iranians who want to bomb Israel. I mean, so if you want to talk about the connection between the two candidates and the Russians, let's go there.
But you're okay with the, you actually think that Donald Trump, you really believe this, that Donald Trump would buddy up to Putin in an effort, this is really beyond ridiculous, to defeat ISIS together.
We do have that in common. In fact, that's what we have in common with the Hindus. The Hindus,
yes,
they have an Islam, radical Islam problem. So do the Russians with the Chechens. You know the history with the Russians and Muslim
the
terrorists.
Boston bombers were from
exactly.
there.
Remember the movie theater that they invaded?
I do.
They held hostage for 2 or 3 days.
I remember.
They have a huge problem. We have that in common. We aligned ourselves with Stalin in World War II to defeat the Nazis. It's a similar thing right now with Putin and ISIS. Jimmy from Jersey, around with Bernie and Sid on WABC. Good morning, Jimmy.
Yeah, how you doing? Bernie, listen, I just want to thank you for all your work you've done over the years. I think you're funny as hell. And
You're the man.
Listen to me, man. You are underappreciated.
Well, thank you. I mean, I don't know about it, but thank you.
You are, but I got a question for you. How can you sit next to KD every day?
Who's KD?
King Douchebag.
Is that me?
Yeah, the guy you... Oh, please.
Jimmy, that was... Come on, that's not nice, Jimmy.
Well, it was Jimmy. It was between me and you for the job, and I guess you didn't get it.
He says it all the time. He uses foul language. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
everybody's a jerk off, a jack off.
Look, he's a passionate guy. He's a good guy. Sid's a very good guy. He's passionate about what he believes in, and
a pig and a junkie.
Jimmy, take it.
That's okay.
Jimmy, we gotta go.
You're a coward. Easy to say that over the phone, and you are a jerk off, Jimmy.
I was waiting. I was going to set that up for you.
You see, I don't say it for no reason, but when somebody comes on and attacks my character or attack something from my past, which is really cowardly, that's when you prove yourself to be what you are, Jimmy. And a lot of you Trump supporters have done that. Not you, Bernard, not Flirty, but throughout the election. That's what you do. And I got to tell you, when I was tepidly endorsing Donald Trump, I wasn't getting that type of hate from Hillary supporters. So you can talk all you want about how they name call, they do this. Nobody was calling me a junkie or a drunk or none of that stuff. But the Trump supporters, I get tons of that almost on a daily basis. And that is why he's going to lose, because he is like that himself, and you guys are going to go away next Tuesday. And believe me when I tell you, America will be a much better place when you guys are gone.
It's almost as bad as calling people racist and bigots.
No, it's worse.
Because you disagree. It's almost
worse.
as bad.
It's worse.
I'm not sure about
it's
that.
Worse.
Mark from Mayapack, you're on with Bernie and Sid on WABC. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Hey there.
You know, Sid, guys like you and people like you who are going to vote for Hillary just to not have Trump don't care how embarrassing it would look for the country.
Right, we don't care, right? Because I got a 7-year-old kid.
You're going to vote for somebody who could possibly have to vacate the presidency?
Yeah,
That's not
I am.
Embarrassing?
I am going to do that because I'm a lot more worried. I'm a lot more worried, Mark. I'm a lot more worried about the guy who's going to sit there and make decisions every day than the woman that might have to leave. What don't you understand about that?
But he'll have people around him that are going to help him make the right decision.
Mark, he hasn't yet. His campaign, his campaign has sucked from day one.
Sorry.
Hey, Mark, thanks for the call. We're out of time. Bernie and Sid back after
Morons.
this.
You're a moron, Mark.
Idiot.
Moron.
77.